Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Liebherr 2019 ITTF World Championships, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. I'm your commentator, Adam Bobrow, and this is the men's doubles final. So this is the battle at hand. They will be battling for the Iran Cup donated by the Shah of Iran in 1947 at the World Champs. Here's a look at the four matches. The next four matches coming up today. We start with the men's doubles final, the women's singles final, then singles semifinals. Two of them in a row. A lot of excitement today, but the story for the match that is about to happen is a fascinating story. We've got the captain, the dragon, the dictator, currently world rank number 11, arguably the greatest player to have played the game at this point in history, who will be paired up with the Youth Olympic gold medalist. It's Ma Long at 30 years old and Wang Chuqin at 18. They've been unstoppable so far, but there's only one other pair that can say the same. Two undefeated doubles pairs will be entering the court. Ma Long as fast, as agile, and adaptable as can be, and the fearless Wang Chuqin, arguably the MVP of their semifinal. And an unlikely pair internationally, it is Romania's Ovidiu Ionescu and Spain's Alvaro Robles. These two have come from nothing. They were put together because they had no other partners. They went stag to the dance and somebody set them up. Tournament director said, well, you both need partners, why don't you play together? That was the 2018 China Open, and they ended up beating Ma Long and Chuqin, only to make it to the final. Joining me in the commentary booth, a pleasure to have Guy McCree. How you doing, Guy?
Yeah, good to work with you again, Adam.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I can't believe this is our first time this entire week.
Yeah, it's just how things pan out sometimes, isn't it? We've both been very, very busy. I mean, it's been an amazing week. I mean, especially this event here. I mean, we talk a lot, the men's singles gets a lot of airtime, if you like, in terms of what's happened there, but this has been, I mean, not so much Ma Long and Wang Chuqin being in the final, but I mean, on the other side of things, as you say, this is a pretty incredible story on a number of levels in itself. Absolutely, and for the stage here that it is, the World Championships, the biggest tournament of the year, this event only comes up every 2 years, as we have the teams events every other year. And really, Asia has dominated the sport, China specifically, with a few Chinese pairings, depending on how the draw works out. We've seen Chinese finals a lot. In this situation, you've commentated many of them over the previous years. Just some signs. I mean, we talked about the men's singles, but also in this side of things, that other countries are getting a little bit of a look in. I mean, you need some luck sometimes in terms of the draws, how they've shaped out. We said that in the singles, that Chuqin was on his own basically in that bottom half, but you've still got to take advantage of an opportunity, a draw, and I think there's just some signs here at these World Championships that's maybe just starting to happen a little bit, which is, you know, I always say, Adam, it's amazing what China's done and still does in this sport, but obviously on the other side of things, it's great to see other countries work hard and be able to get a look at it.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. There was some time where Liu Guoliang was out of office for a bit, and there seemed to be a little bit of a decline in the domination of the men in the men's game. And he's back in action, but not as coach. He's president of CTTA. There was the Batman mug there, which is interesting because I think Ma Long is a Marvel guy. So I'm going to guess that was Wang Chuqin's. Coaches on this side, Andre Filimon, former top player from Romania, and personal coach to Alvaro Robles, Alfredo Carneros. Had a chance to see him last night, speaks outstanding English. Him and his wife are here to enjoy this historical moment. Really impressive. Again, and we're not talking about Timo Boll and Dmitry Ovtcharov. It's not two players in the top 10. We're looking at world rank number 39, well right now 51, Alvaro Robles, and world rank number 39, Ovidiu Ionescu. 27 years old for Robles, 29 for Ovidiu Ionescu. And they're playing against two of the best players in the world. But Don and I had an interesting talk. I'm curious to get your thoughts about this, the pairings for China.
Yeah, because I think it's still to be very much, I think they're still working it out. I mean, they've obviously got unbelievable players, unbelievable selection options, but this will go a long way. You feel this event, I mean, this is the biggest event on the ITTF calendar in the year. Just seeing how guys handle things. I mean, obviously the progress has been, as we can see, pretty good. I mean, their toughest test really came in the quarters, didn't it, against the Korea Republic pair overall. But I think I think it's fair to say they're still working things out. Just over a year out, little over a year out from the big one next year, of course, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So it'd be interesting to see what they do.
And a lot of experience here for the number 7 seeds. 11 seeds in front. You could see the runner-up at the China Open. Just amazing. And here, dropping a total of 5 games along the way, 3 of them last night in one of the most spectacular matches, probably the most spectacular match of the day. Ingrid Bogren here from Sweden, our umpire for the match. Again, she's handled some of the most high-pressure matches around the world over the years and is more than capable. On the other side, it looks like we've got Kirsten Duschatz, sure enough, from Germany. You know, Liebherr Live is a program that we do at the end of every day and in the middle of every day. Is that right, Guy?
Yeah, 2 shows a day through most of the tournament, yeah.
So Guy is very up on what is happening day in and day out, probably more so than myself, just because he needs to be. It's been quite exciting, but again, the match to get here for Ovidiu and Robles, one to go back and watch later. Best of 7 men's doubles final. I love how Ma Long can cover such a wide range with that forehand. That shot would have taken a lot of players off balance, had them cross over. He's able to reach, still hook it back aggressively for the win.
Well, you mentioned our Liebherr Live discussion show. We actually had, we did a tactical breakdown of Ma's in the singles in the quarterfinals, but actually the points you're making, Adam, could apply here to the doubles as well. Just his coverage, flexibility. He's not one of the youngest guys out there anymore, but still incredible how he moves around the table, and clearly that's going to help you in doubles as well.
Yeah, we're talking about a player who was out of the game on pretty serious injuries, not playing for about 6 months. And he comes back to win the Qatar Open. Look at the after motion there. That looked like Liu Shiwen's serve. Subtle contact, the racket goes around the other way. And we saw one shot block come out already, but the pressure, the distance of the shot coming in didn't lend itself to Ma Long making the shot. But from a timing standpoint, the European pair is going to have to try and stay closer to the table. Robles is very forehand dominant, and he's a big guy. But the timing yesterday with the parallel backhands, the punch shots were quite effective to keep the opponents under pressure. Now, Don Parker actually said if he went to battle like Braveheart style, he wanted to have as his general on the front lines Ovidiu Ionescu, just his sort of grit and determination. But he goes very boldly, very early on the rise to take the ball quite aggressively. He's I'd say all forward. That's his game.
Well, it's got to be here as well if they're going to have any chance as well. That's got to be the tactic, you feel. It's one of the things I think the Chinese do, one of the things, many things they do very well is they rush you along as well. You can already see this, the way they've started. Even for these two, played so well. Just very good at taking your time away and making you feel, you already get the sense here, they're imposing. They're running it along, rushing along through the points.
Well, I think there's always a time for it. Here, the coverage from Ma Long on the deep backhand to get that forehand into play from the middle. It's like the point that Omar Assar analyzed. He covers the middle so well. Forehand's difficult to do that with. Oh, beautiful Chiquita from in at the table. Heavy side and top, Chun Chi in the corner. Former national team player, has been coaching now. Personal coach to Chuqin, working with the Chinese men. Quite a dominant start in this best of 7 final. Now, if you think about it, you might think, I've heard people say, oh, 4-0, China's going to take this, it's going to be quick. Well, Chuqin is the best doubles player we've seen ever. And playing with Ma Long, arguably the best player in the game. These two men right here from Europe beat that pairing. So their chances should be even better here. The chop block doesn't come down for Ionescu. And in terms of rushing, I think when you're in a flow, either side should, if they can. Slowing it down as if you feel that the opponents are succeeding in rushing. Basically anything you can do to make the opponents not play their game slightly less comfortable. You know, if you can turn a 1-point or a 2-point run into a quick 4-point run, it's to your advantage.
That's what they've been doing here.
That's the chop block, low to the net that Ma Long does that earns that passive push back, and Wang Chuqin knows exactly what to do when the ball comes back. 7 game points for the dictator and the Youth Olympic gold medalist to take the first. That forehand flick is too solid, 11-3. The dictator dictating, and Wang Chuqin doing his job very well in the attack game. We'll be back for game number 2 coming up right after this. Back for game number 2. Chinese pairing in the lead. Top of the screen, Wang Chuqin with the serve, with the dictator waiting for the third ball. Good placement here from Robles, right on the line, the Chiquita. Interestingly enough, in his native language, Chiquita means little girl, but we're referring to the banana receive, the banana flick.
Yes, yes. I was going to ask you, Adam, actually, about that. We've obviously got banana flicks. Oh.
Just real quick to acknowledge the service toss warning, that the serve toss wasn't nearly vertical.
They've been really sharp on that this week, actually, in a good way. We've had a few instances of that where players have been warned. But I think it's good officialdom, because it's not, it's making the point, but it's not too overly imposing. It's also being, there's a little bit of leniency there, at least to start with. It's also the time as well taken, as well as the other issue. Been handled this week, I think, very, very well by the officials.
Yeah, one thing that I find quite impressive is that at 18 years old, Wang Chuqin takes the note, doesn't change his serve too much. I mean, it was still very questionable. He could have easily been faulted right away. But just enough to stay inside the line and keep his focus and make sure that he delivers a very tight and threatening serve, something to set up that third ball.
Now, I was going to ask you about all these fruit-based descriptions.
Yes.
What the reason is behind that. Banana flicks and strawberries and now chiquitas. Is there something in that? Or is it just you get hungry in the booth?
Well, that's what I like to credit it to, long days, and it's just on my mind. I mean, between the pancake flip, the ice cream cone flip.
Yeah, there's a theme here.
There is. None of which involve killing. No, I got you. Oh, beautiful backhand from Robles in the cross-court shot here. So ties it up at the first towel break. To answer your question, the banana flick or flip has been around for some time. Yes. Peter Korbel of Czech Republic. They say that it's because of the path of the ball, but also that the racket takes the side spin and the top spin combined to curve out, much like a banana. In Scotland, they call it the elephant. Ooh, beautiful inside-out forehand over the table here. Again, a tall, lanky player is going to have to use that wrist in the forehand flip game. Watch him get up here. It's a low shot. This is very bold, a little off the top of the net, but perfectly placed to the corner. Now the strawberry, on the other hand, I read in a forum, a chat pit a few years back, and thought, I get it, and I like it. It's the opposite rotation in the same situation as the banana. So only later did I find out that it was my friend, Kanakja's coach, Stefan Fett from Germany, who was also the U.S. team coach for some time, who came up with that. Oh, what a rally. And with the opposing team, the Chinese pair out of position in that last moment, the punchy backhand from Robles doesn't come down, but what a save. Ma Long running through again. Wang Chuqin jumping back like he was blasted with an air gun, racket behind the head for the counter.
Yeah, it's fantastic defense, wasn't it, away from the table there?
Pretty much the most offensive defense you can get. That side spin again, making the kick, creating an uncomfortable ball. It's uncomfortable for everybody in that situation. I've seen Ma Long take the ball in that position, chop block it, touch it back, but he can't be passive here because these two, especially Ionescu, so aggressive. There we go, serve sets up a beautiful third ball opportunity in the backhand to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that first set kind of got away from them. But here, I think we're seeing more of what we've seen this week. Much more into this.
So despite losing that point, the European pair have already doubled their score from game one. And they're dead even here at the second towel break. That's what the reverse pendulum is all about, the opposite side spin from the traditional pendulum serve that Ma Long uses. Again, based on history and nothing else, this match is much more possible to be taken by the Europeans than many would expect. That's such a clever shot. Wang Chuqin playing it soft and spinny from below the table. Robles is waiting for the big opening to counter, just a step behind. Empty serve, little rotation, and by the time Robles takes that ball, it's below the table. Tough one to handle. Oh, back edge, break there.
Well, they need all the fortune to go along with good play here in this second. As you say, it's more possible, but you do also get the feeling, Adam, here, I mean, these next few moments for the Europeans, absolutely massive. I mean, you go 2 down. It's difficult to see it, even in this week of shocks and surprises here in Budapest, but sneak it, anything's possible.
Right, in terms of opportunities, this is an incredible opportunity. It's groundbreaking for these two Europeans, and especially considering how they came together. Yeah. But even to make it this far on this stage is just it's like every single match is a bonus match, and if you can extend it, the dream just gets more and more amazing. But there's a similar factor here for Wang Chuqin. How many times in his life do you think he's going to be paired with Ma Long? And he's 18 years old, so there could be some history made here for him as well.
Yeah, they've got a real opportunity here, these two now. That was the thing with the first game, was that obviously Ma and Wang got away very quickly. Hasn't happened here. Indeed, they've got the lead of 1.
Beautiful parallel there. And again, the Chiquita to open up gets a slightly hesitant shot here from Ma Long. And right away, the short rally, that's what Ionescu is looking for, and that's what the European pair needs. They can't get into the open rallies from behind the table. Once that happens, it definitely favors the Chinese pairing. So ending the points quickly, Ionescu on a mission. 2 game points now for the European pair. Long push does it. Fist pumped. He is determined. We are tied up at 1 game apiece. This is getting quite exciting, and it's only just begun. We'll see what happens. Who takes the lead? Game 3 coming up right after this. Players back to the table for game number 3. And while the European pair has been heavily outscored here, 19 points to 14, points don't matter in the overall scheme of things. The first team to win 4 games wins the match and here the title. But Guy, I was just chatting with you briefly between games. There's a quote that's been said many different ways, which I will give to you just after this point.
Pause for a moment. I mean, what about that from Wang?
Well, this has been his typical for as long as I've been watching him in this event. Over the table, he's so bold. He doesn't feel the need to just spin it up. He drives forward and goes aggressively to the deep corners. Oh. Speaking of corners, we've got a parallel shot here, a little bit of side spin again, but the surprise factor so high from Robles.
Well, they sliced them open there.
Look at it one more time. Watch him tuck. Just drops back, a little bit of side, a whole lot of top. But placement every time, very clever. Good anticipation this time, waiting patiently. Wang Chuqin has been burned on that turnaround. And I think the ability to learn from just the point before, you don't want it to cost you 2 points when you make a mistake. And by mistake, I mean anticipate wrong, for example, or get burned by the opponent. Nice change here. Robles changes it up. But again, Wang Chuqin playing patiently. This is something that Ma Long shows so well. He rarely leaves early because he knows he's fast enough to get the next ball, and it's not worth the risk of being caught out of position. So it is not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable or willing to change. And I think Ma Long is the most adaptable player in the world. And I think that's something that Wang Chuqin is not credited for, and also is still developing on a lot. He's only 18 years old, and I think he's getting better and better at becoming adaptable. But there's a reason why just recently Satyen Ionescu was able to beat Wang Chuqin. And I think international experience and ability to change, I mean, Satyen's game is quite different, but Ma Long seems to adapt to almost everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the experience helps, doesn't it? When he's been through, I mean, obviously he's done an awful lot of winning. He's won many more matches than he's lost in his long career, but you've got to go through. What is it the players say often to you, Adam? They say to us, you know, they learn more from a defeat. They're able to evolve and progress more from a defeat than from all his victories.
We definitely hear that a lot, and I think in the case of world-renowned Tomokazu Harimoto, we see him take a loss and then come back so strong right away. I mean, this tournament, he lost twice in the past to Marcos Freitas. Didn't even give him a chance to get his head above water in this match here. And here's a perfect example of turning early. Wang Chuqin anticipates that the spin is going to carry the ball to the backhand corner. There's going to be a turn, and the weight just comes up from Ionescu, and he's burned the opposite way. Well, there's definitely no fear on Ionescu's side, but in terms of depth from the table, it's really tough from that far back. Once you're there, though, I think that's the right answer. Ionescu can't get into the fishing game too much. They're going to have to counter quickly, keep the pressure on, make their way back into the table. Ooh, fault. There it is. He was warned before for the service toss, the angle of it. Now, in terms of mental maturity, when you're faulted, it's very difficult, especially for younger players, to not get flustered. I think 2012 Olympic Games.
But isn't this, Adam, where Ma is important here?
Oh, yeah.
As well. Kind of father figure.
Right.
As well. There we go, the tactic again.
Brother Long, as he's been called, the big brother on the team to all.
Yeah, big brother, actually, it's better than father. We won't mind him off as being that old. When he's 30. I mean, yeah, big brother. That's a good description.
And he is a father.
Think it's important as well for him to step in here, because as you said, Wang is incredibly talented, but lacks that experience comparatively so.
Now, I'm curious, I wasn't focusing on the serve. There are a lot of other things to focus on, but the toss of the serve, we've seen warnings for different reasons. The first toss warning, or the only warning, was on the back toss. Perfect length here, just off the table, but close enough. We don't see Ma Long missing this shot too often, so you know the serve has to be tight. A good timeout here. Chun Chi standing up, calling the timeout. A 3-point run for the European pair. You know, and just to be fair, I've seen false serves throughout this tournament without a warning. And there is nothing in the rules that says players have the right to be warned first. If an umpire sees that the toss clearly crosses the line, it is their job to basically deter it from happening again.
But that's where I think the the officials in this event, in my opinion, interpretation of it, actually have got it spot on, because I know, as you say, strictly, you can just go out and straight away jump in. But they've tended to give a warning first of all. I like that. It's a little bit more lenient. It's kind of like, hey, you could be in trouble here, but I'm going to give you a second chance, in the match. I like that personally. I like that interpretation.
Oh, for sure. I think everybody would. I think everybody does, prefers that. I have seen outright calls a few times here, and I don't think they're the wrong call at all.
No.
But while it's tough for Wang Chuqin, he was one of the lucky ones who got the warning first. So, should be a little bit less flustering, but it will factor in. I think mentally when you're serving and you know that you have to worry about changing things up, if you get away with it a lot throughout the World Tour, maybe you build a little bit of a follow-up to that.
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it, Adam, off this timeout?
Horse Dragon. That is what it said on those girls' heads. The little mini tiaras, Ma Long's name translated. Little fun fact for you there. Here we go, 1 point between them. Chinese pair back from the timeout. Just missing. There's a lot of interesting pressure on Ionescu in this rally because he's got a teammate who's way out wide on the backhand corner, so he has to play the wide angle, so the ball comes back cross court. And that's something, I think that's very clever thinking from Ionescu, and part of the reason he's such a strong doubles player, but he has to take that chance and play it on the line. So big point for some momentum. A little bit of confidence turned into momentum here. The timeout has paid off so far.
Last couple of points here, Wang just seems to have drawn a line a little bit under that. I mean, he's been really the key player there in those last couple of exchanges.
Tight serve by Ma Long, looks heavy, overlifted. Again, it's not necessarily how much spin is on the ball, but how deceptive it can be. So oftentimes, I'd say, we'll see empty serves that earn the point outright. That's what's done here. It's 4 game points for the Chinese pair. One saved here by the Europeans. Service game, watch what Robles brings. He's been very strong in the reverse pendulum serve. But the backhand, a little bit of a struggle, and from behind the table without that extra top spin on it, it's the Chinese pair who take it. 11-7, 2-1 lead for the Chinese pair, and we'll be back for game number 4 right after this. Players back to the table for game number 4. The Chinese pair here leading 2-1, but no longer have their lifeline, so it's pretty early in the match to be without a timeout, Guy.
Yeah, but they used it well to move in front on the other side of things. At least it bore fruit. It's very interesting, the use of timeouts. We've discussed it a lot on the week. Love to get your thoughts on this, Adam, early in this fourth. Because, you know, we look at it in one sense, and it's a fantastic first point, isn't it?
I just want to acknowledge that Ma Long, at the point this is contacted, it looks clearly out of reach, and he's there. He's able to get his arm so far, yet keep his shoulder in socket and still play a winning shot. That little bit of side spin, too, to bend it back.
That's that flexibility again we talked about earlier. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, everyone can see the timeout worked for them in that previous game to go on. They produced the run of points. Just your thoughts generally on the use of timeouts and, if you like, their place in the game at the moment.
Well, I think there are a lot of different ways timeouts can function. And while you might think tactical changes, I often think about that, what needs to change. Sometimes it's simply giving them a moment to cool down, get their head out of the mess that is this heated match. You know, tactically, players often know what to do and how to change. Little break here off the top of the net. But also, I think sometimes you see a player flustered. You know, the service fault can definitely get someone distracted, change their focus. And a coach's job can just be to set a player on track, not feed them something they didn't know about how to play table tennis or how to beat the opponent, but just remind them what to focus on, you know? Make the conversation about getting in after the serve, about the soft touch. And I think that was basically it here. Get the head straight for Wang Chuqin. And it definitely worked. He came right out and has been doing what he's been doing so well throughout this tournament, playing aggressive near the table, playing fearlessly, and just playing his game, forcing the opponents to deal with the heat that he brings. It's funny, I've talked to players who, you know, Demo sometimes will go over to Rossi on the timeout. And all Rossi will say is something to the effect of, you got this, right? And he might do it in different wording.
That's all it needs.
Exactly.
I think what you're suggesting, Adam, is, you know, every timeout is different. Every situation is different. Here it was clear. I mean, we've got it called now. So both teams have actually used them relatively early still in the context of this championship match.
I like that, and I think that's a wise move by the European side. Again, the Chinese teams tend to set the trends, and we've seen earlier and earlier timeouts. A good friend of mine actually has said that the only time for a timeout is when you think it will change the outcome of the match. And that's a great point, because you only have one per match, so you have to be very judicious about when you use it.
Well, they're clearly hoping here that it'll set them on the course to turn this fourth around. Critical times again for the European pair. No, because I mean the thing was that back on the timeouts, just one more time. You know, traditionally it would be like a 10-9 or whatever to try and get you over. That was the way of doing it. But as you say, it's more complicated now, much more complicated.
It's interesting, yeah. I think for me, as long as I've been commentating, we've seen a lot of three-point differentials when a team is coming back in a crucial moment. But also, yes, at 10-9 or in really tight moments, if you have the luxury of having one. Pongi quite excited here, our table tennis fox.
He's had a fun week.
Oh yeah, non-stop energy, just loving it here. But who isn't? So right out of the timeout, the point goes the other way. And coaches know best. I mean, that's what their job is. They're basically sports psychologists for the players who happen to know the game very well. So sometimes the you got this factor or the believe, they find ways to say it without saying it, you know? It's whatever pulls the best performance out of your players. But Ma Long and Wang Chuqin right now starting to break ahead. 5 points in front, not a point for the team that just called the timeout. So it continues here. Wang Chuqin, look at this aggression. Backhand just one, and the kick is so fast. But I think Robles is doing the right thing to stay close and try to stay on top. And it pays off here, turns for the forehand. His forehand covers a lot of space. But he took a risk, really, to turn the corner. If it goes the other way, no chance to touch it. I shake my head to say, yes, that's right, you have to. I mean, in the European corner, he's sticking to the plan here. Short rallies, get aggressive. He's made shots tougher than this. It's still a very tough ball, but remember that inside-out sort of sliding forehand flick?
There's not tons of table to work with there. That's the problem if you look at it. It's quite a high tariff shot.
5 by 9 feet. The feeling of Ma Long, it's like he's able to slow things down. I often liken him to Neo from The Matrix. What appears fast to everyone else, to Ma Long, he can just sort of run around and take care of things and sculpt out the point the way he wants. There it is, 11-3, a quick game out of the timeout. Now there are no timeouts left, and the backs of the Europeans are against the ropes here. A very determined and a very well-prepared Chinese pair are up 3-1. We'll be back for game number 5 right after this. Look at that, gold chains on the table tennis babies in the crowd. Swagging it up. 3-1 right now. The Chinese pair 1 game away from a title. And not just any title, but the biggest title on offer in 2019. Guy, you said it, the timeout didn't really seem to cause much trouble for the Chinese pair.
No, I mean, total contrast in the success or otherwise of timeouts. You look at over those 2 games, it's just real hammer blow, I think, for the European pair. Just didn't produce anything. No fruit. You talk about all your descriptions. It didn't bear any fruit at all.
Yeah, a lot of labor, no fruit for it. You know, game number 4 was really the game by pattern because that was the service and the playing order that favored the European pair. They won 11-8 in the second. They needed to take the 4th. Now they're back on the side that they haven't won a game yet, 11-3, 11-7, but the last game, 11-3, it's tough to come back from that. And you can see tactically that they're trying to get in really quickly, make the shots count early. And I think the Chinese pair knows this. They're doing the same, but they're keeping the ball low. We saw yesterday Robles make a few shots like this, with his body like a pencil, stood straight up, slapping it from in near the waist. Tough times right now. But being able to do it all, like the Chinese pair, good in the counterattacks, good at the opening attacks. And as you can see, the touch game, able to keep it low and make it a very, very low percentage shot for these over-the-table attacks. For the other side, of course.
Well, it's one of the many areas, isn't it? I mean, with the Chinese, I remember we discussed it quite a bit at last year's World Championships at the team. World Championships in Halmstad, quite a bit about the quality of their short game, their touch game. You know, really, remember Jon Persson talking about that and saying, well, you know, simply we've got to try and improve. Because I said to him at the time, well, it's there. What do? Train harder, work harder.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a factor. A lot of people talk about the Chinese rubber, which is interesting because it is heavy and hard, and it's very good in the short game. It's easy to keep the ball short, but you know, these players are the hardest working players. The Chinese national team is the most competitive process to even make anywhere in the world. Oh. He pulled the Zhang Jike, ducking under the table, as we saw in 2015 in Suzhou. But Wang Chuqin had turned the corner the other way. Clever play from Robles. Quick decision to go parallel. So only 3 points between them now. Quite recoverable. Ma Long, it's like he can just decide what he wants to do and make it happen with an unbelievable success rate. The racket speed here, that ball would have hit him in the left hip had he not moved. And by the time it gets to him, he's got a full swing forehand. Perfect flick, the angle wide, unpredictability factor too high, definitely a head scratcher.
The execution's so good there from Wang. Made that look so easy.
So 6 points between them, stopped at 2 points. The Europeans, it's looking quite grim. And overall, the tournament, I mean, to get a silver medal is just crazy newsworthy, and the celebrations will be big. But right now, it's looking quite unlikely that they'll be able to turn this around. Ma Long and Wang Chuqin just too strong, too determined here. Technically, from a focus standpoint, I mean, they've brought everything to the table. Dismissive forehand flick there. Every once in a while, taking that gamble, Wang Chuqin's left open that forehand line, and it's not worked out for him.
Yeah. Just a word on the atmosphere here. It might be coming to a close shortly. I mean, it's been pretty incredible through the week. I mean, the support, the Chinese support, we take that for granted, but these two, the noise, you were talking about this, the semi-final last night, Adam. I mean, but it's been pretty good today as well, even if they, you know, looking like they're going to lose this. A word for the supporters. So
an update on that, Ovidiu Ionescu's club, the club he plays for, came, I believe, all the way here to cheer for him. They were chanting OV, OV. Oh, almost just unstoppable. The Chinese pair in this rally from corner to corner, coast to coast, put so much pressure on, deflecting the aggressive shots. Ma Long quickly turns it in. One forehand, and it's a knockout punch. 6-game match and championship points for Wang Chuqin and the Dictator. Ooh. Almost finished it with an around-the-net shot. Looked like what he was going for there. 1 match point saved.
He wanted point in the day as well, on top of the medal.
Oh, man. He's got room to take it. 5 championship points left. And there it is, Ma Long and Wang Chuqin, 30 years old and 18 years old, have taken the World Championship title here in 2019 in Budapest, Hungary. They will go down in history. They will be listed. What a performance. And 18 years old, to be as strong as he was, definitely did more than his part. But you could see the power of the Dictator. Every time that forehand came into play, there wasn't much to be done, and you'll have a chance to see it in the singles event as well. But congratulations to the Youth Olympic gold medalist, Wang Chuqin, and the Dragon, the captain, the Dictator, Ma Long, another title to go down in his long list of accolades. What a resume, guy.
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to him. We could see that with his vocalization as well through the final. He wanted this, but for Wang as well, I mean, I was really taken. It was so infectious as well. As you say, just a teenager. He's going to win many, many more, I think, World Championship titles. But for him as well, building on the Youth Olympic Games success, everything else he's done. I mean, it's just, it's so good to see, you know, a star like that, as you say, unite with a legend of the sport. And they're just a bit too good in the end. Credit though to the Europeans. Got to have a word. I mean, this has been an amazing run overall, even if it just ends up coming a little short.
Yeah, I think we can't ignore the fact that they've created history, and there are going to be celebrations through Spain and Romania. Congratulations to Ovidiu Ionescu and Alvaro Robles for a groundbreaking performance. But even more for the players that could not be stopped, the undefeated pair of Wang Chuqin and Ma Long. And now, some words from our champions down on court.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our champions in men's doubles. Make some noise. So congratulations. So your opponents won over you before. How did you prepare for this match? Because it seemed to be tough, but have you ever expected a 4-1 victory? 恭喜你们获得了这场比赛的胜利，赢得了冠军。这对组合呢，之前打败过您跟许昕所以在准备这场比赛的时候，有没有特别的准备？
确实对手是一个很强的这种跨国组合，然后之前去年公开赛赢了我跟许昕，所以今天这场比赛，我觉得我跟王楚钦还是准备的特别充分嘛，也做好这种现场，包括这些球迷可能会给对方加油的可能会更多一点，也做好这样困难准备。但我觉得从8进4开始，王楚钦我觉得这3场球发挥的还是非常好吧，也让我在场上能够减轻了很多压力。
So yes, our opponents are very competitive. They won over me and Xu Xin in China Open last year. So we had fully prepared for this tough match. And especially I would like to say my partner Wang Chuqin, he performed very well, especially after the semifinal. And with his cooperation, we performed better and better. And also, we considered about the audience might cheer up for our opponents, but even under this atmosphere, we managed to win. So how do you feel at the moment? 现在你们感觉怎么样? Any words you want to say to the fans who are supporting you? 有没有想对现场观众？
我觉得今天观众加油声很大，很给力吧，我觉得。然后现在感觉非常开心。
So thank you all for supporting us. You are awesome during the match, and I feel pretty glad and happy. Thank you. 谢谢。
Well, there you have it from the champions, and here's a chance to get face to face with the dragon, the captain, the dictator, Ma Long, and the future of table tennis, the Youth Olympic gold medalist, Wang Chuqin. Congratulations, Gongxi Niman, you've done it. You've completed your mission here at the World Championships. Stick around, enjoy the highlights, and after this, we've got Jill Parker and myself for the women's singles final. Guy, it's been great to work with you. Everybody else, stay right here.